The Real, the Material, and the Material. Written August 15, 2021, 2 nights after returning from Turkey. I recall a travel journalist once said during a conference that often for 4 days after coming back from one of his trips, he can near optimal insightful clarity about larger truth sources regarding the state of matters at large and those regarding his place of residence and the resonances of deltas in between. He mentioned this would happen after trips of longer than 5 days. The resonance of catching the drift of a locality he had landed as a destination takes longer, but catching the drift, sense, embodiment of the place of origin which he had left would echo its truth source as reflections when he left it. He said he would obtain insight about the place of departure with more salience because the transitional disembodiment that occurred within and during the perspective change while on travel away, affecting a reflection of truth source's echo as light. Any given locality has its own source of noospheric echo, which after disembodiment becomes even more consciously experienced. Having relocated out of his comfort zone into a place of travel, this disembodiment enabled him to understand the embodiment of the place he originally traveled out of better. The fog and the light tower, the cave and the candle. A mindset of an observer has its start with the medium of the eye for sight, gray hair for insight, and travel as training for not being in one place nor no place at all, but a medium somewhere in between. In one place for so long as to forget the other, but to gain insight into the material source of truth of the place of origin by the cause of distance in the three major media of space, time, and memories, either falsified or convicted to material truth about the place of origin. The place you had left begins to show itself. Medium is the message, and as a writer, I speak these words from the echo of my own gray-hair mind, confirmed through my sight on the screen that bestows on clean canvas of nothingness. I am the creator of my being, I am the master of my oath. Now I keep this candle in the dark, as I had written these words in the dark with the light of the screen. You, the listener, please imagine I'm imagining speaking to you in a cave of eternal evanescence. I'm there, I'm here now, but I will be gone, one scroll away. As this video is archived upon these walls of digital archive, please imagine the candle is lit on the side and the moving of my hands creates shadows that inspire the story to be embodied with shades of theatrics. Medium is the message, and what I get to control with time as with the written words on paper is going to be different than the truth horizons I lay contract with the control of the keyboard. The mediator, the pen, but also the thumb, control the creation of words into visible form, derived from intentions or accidents, nevertheless, thoughts. The source is the mind, catches meaning from the visualized truth horizons witnessed as phenomena during living, and as the punching of the keyboard or holding tight of the pen, the speed of intention, as well as accidental serendipities, cross to form meaning into compositions of meaningfulness. The materialized form of thought before manifested in ink, now the manifestation happens through switches of motherboard, birthing thought into fashionable form, type words. The experience of time during each is different. We're all DJs. The cave walls are shared so the echo of singular manifestation of epistemic reckoning for each of us can aggregate momentary total conceptualization of the world for our relations to the entire universe, with all other planetary members and neighbors. Proximity, nearing, is what this story is all about, apparently. As I write, the muscles in my arm are leveraged to bring this truth onto the keyboard, and so for something larger indeed. Why else did we teach ourselves to write? The nearing is planetary in nature, and as our universe is being pushed out from inside out to near expansion, nearing another pooling, I'm also pulled out by my urge to express my own archive fever in the form of the most meaningful expression my soul can express out towards you, the listener. The nearing must be planetary. If I'm doing so myself as part of nature, and nature itself calls me forth thus in fractals, I become an agent of his calling. As the foot moves, all muscles inbound the message of walk, with a micro-negotiated contract established in the very intention of the happening, in every step. When the movement is on a planetary level on a walk, at which fast speed a bunch will look like a slurp and slowing down will look like lava outbounding away but calm, then the manifestation of its happening is both pushing from the source of it all, but perhaps from the very pushing out, there's pulling towards the other sources of calm that establish attraction for the resonance of matter, and so what I want to mine within this talk. To make it super simple, our planet has become aware that beyond presumed claimed lands, ocean shores, and mountaintops, the seeking, which is an epistemic condition of being, has been pulling us toward boundaries of farther and farther deltas, far away from core tribal values instilled in the concept of contained, sacred protection of wherever we each were from. We caught the seeking nature of our millennia, acted this way to abide by nature and not to pass up by the general will to survive. We made that will personal and our aim far, or at least farther and farther. The seeking is an expansionist charge. It is osmosis in nature, and the unfolding is affected by the conditions sought in its nearing by neighbors of heavier mass of gravity. As a child is gravitated by the truth source of his parentals, planets also seek truth from larger pooling sources of being too. And once we went aerial, we understood there's higher and higher, more to look up to than our previous disguised horizons of eventfulness. And so, we sought out more of the world. Once you realize the true depth of thought, you can echo larger sources of being, perhaps for nothing other than to pulsate the call for being, there and then, here and now, as a concept relating in MetaReal source, then claim to be so. Because any being is programmed to be better in witness than invisible. For being witness brings light from an inner source to reflect off the object to show the subject a phenomena, accessing truth horizon so. In any case, in any form, MetaReal as both metaphysical calling and meta-epistemic self-awareness come as a calling of our inner enthusiasm to say, I'm here, I was here, I sought. I'm sorry if I had to burst your ego. But as this urge to show, share, and be seen is not based on power, singularly for anyone in finitude, as we have attributed to celebrities to be more real than the rest of mankind because they were archived the most. The Material is expansionist horizon of matter that hovers over its mass, regardless of any weight, breathing the concept into its form. But the gauge was controlled, and that's how we were fooled. The gauge became claimed by Hermes, and the source of our witnessing became sandglass, and we the witnessing of constant othering, yet the nearing to those we looked up to became immaterial, rather MetaReal, yet still far away, still disguised. And so, we became the same. A whole generation of TV watchers became cartoons, acting in MetaReal tuned to the value exchange of the hovering, and forgetting the mass that was to aggregate in material form. The very acts that became things now in digital, that are presumed to be real acts. The Material sought to usurp some space to breathe light into the cables for the covering. Now the covering has overtaken the material, making the material heavy with light of artificial pooling. Not acts that create Material heaviness that earth called bound by man and his tribe before. The weight became clouds, and we became codes of hovering of what was once us in humanness uniform. We forgot to crystallize ourselves with the care to be heavy enough for the earth, so they mined our time and attention to pull us into the right orientation they sought fit. With all those satellites hovering over our material earth, they grabbed us by our thumbs so we couldn't hold the pen anymore. Our milieu became required to type. The digits were so valuable for the cause, the pooling. All of us are involved. For better or for worse, it happens for planets as they pulse signal desire for osmosis, nearing with larger and heavier sources of truth. If not, at least the seeking is generatively continuous. That is the MetaReal base for physics. As reality echoes for thought, thought pulls reality into nearness for the being. We don't have to participate in the social sharing, but because the seeking is beyond any limit of awesomeness, and because humans seek sublime, that is why we equip ourselves in meta-realization for the aerospatial contracts that are at stake. So we aim our perception, gradually more and more, to the shores of farther concepts of singularity. Some time ago, these concepts were owned by our far ancestors, and they cultivated meaning in units of family and tribe formats, standard herd segmentation. But the neoliberal mindset waved outward, and the core has become far from us because we have gone farther away from it too. Because we wanted to control our being in a new form, we disembodied the past, as if the mission was either change for this generation to something non-familial, something which we couldn't learn from family, or perhaps the mission was stolen altogether, at least our time stolen towards a mission set by control of time-stealing platforms, leveraging us as man building out their mission. The question remains, for what? Why? I realize all these clear truths because I've traveled back and forth from the strata, from there the mountaintop to the valley, from then till now, and the total concept, the MetaReal, unfolds for my witness at a discounted price. That's why they call perspective price and travel the ultimate teacher. I have 4 days to see the truth source as I hovering, because nothing can be such unless there's a leverage point towards it, as an aerial. And so that goes for birds, planes, spaceships, and planets, and the total nature at large. We gain perspective of the truth source when above it, but there are two principles that I have learned along my 35 years of path projections in philosophy and in life that are at stake and are important to always recall. First, there's no one truth source, and just like the flashlight, what you seek depends on the direction of the pointed light or enthusiasm you have for the subject. For where you shine your aim is where the mass hovers in the Material, which you can then aim to gain access to the Material in kind, I suppose. As nature unfolds at the level of concepts, it is just like digging. The toil and the direction of sourcing makes one disconnected from the entire world other than it. For the world in Material is not limited, but perspectives are. And where one looks, one will see thus then there at any given moment, within the space of time, places one does not afford the regard. And so those will be missed, those can't be rewinded. So keep an eye open and curious and empathetic gaze so that the world doesn't go right by you while contained in that space. The world and all its echo, though stratified and not even, it is revelatory at every XY, at every position. This occurs when one is hovering over the hovering of any given place. The relativism is not just right, but rather radically wide in macro truth and acute at the micro level, meaning at the level of nations, regions, cities, neighborhoods, buildings, homes, rooms, and even souls. There's an expansive oneness, but at exact singularity, fractally narrowing down. All the same thing, but all totally different, no matter what. This singularity is a total concept at large, and hence the total concept is singularity in nodes, aggregated in small tunes of each of us. That's why the world is not even, it is at odds with itself, crystallizing meaningful eventfulness thus then. Every singular concept manifested as a mapping, because separated fusion of the crystallization of the larger sphere of thought, that which was called the new sphere, for larger nearing pulsates and all singularity, for the nearing we survive, not to get ourselves across and perhaps our child. Having said that, the second principle deals with the concept of to near, the most amazing concept of them all. As this concept will be the only access path to any truth source towards the total concept that is impossible to avoid it. Obviously, on the way to any orientation, one must get close to a rotational circuit in order to be circuiting distances far. We part of it all are pushed out from the core in participation to add to the delta of gray strings of zeros and ones so that the planet can either get far or get near with the instances shared and photos taken of meals materialize as chips contained for either archive or also pooling. Where to what orientation? I don't know. Hence, to toil our leverage at one focus shall promise our claim in that one focus only, no matter what. And so that participation in the focus happens towards claim in being contracted for meaning in that focus. But one must remember the focus on singular attention is not at all everything, and so nearing towards other foci in a network of meaningfulness for a better grasp of the world is necessary. Nearing because our universe is expanding, and so are we. We get farther from our nucleus because our universe is seeking to meta-realize in relation to its toil for osmosis with another one, with another universe, which is based on the physics of natural relations to seek heavier strata. As it does in material, it will do so in Material. When they say singularity is near, it is not a matter of coming soon, or that it has a limited extension. Rather, it means through the leverage of active participation, of focus on the claim, the nearing becomes more accessible. Each man for achieving, better yet letting be witness, is oneness, one at a time, singularly total.